Hey, everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. Welcome to PHLY Flyers, presented by Bet365. My name is Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for the afternoon. Joining me in the Xfinity studio, it is Philly's #1 hockey beat reporter, Charlie O'Connor. What's going on today, Chuck?
A lot. This is my head is spinning with the sheer amount of stuff that the Flyers threw at us over I guess from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. Like, I don't even know where to begin with all this stuff. And they also did a trade yesterday, which I also like. There is just, we could literally do a 3-hour show today. There's so much stuff to talk about.
And we are going to go, all the stuff they threw at us today. We have to go back to yesterday because we have quite possibly the biggest trade. Oh, I can't even do the joke. But it is kind of a big deal. It's, Danny talked about it today, but the Flyers have traded the contract of Ryan Ellis. That's right, that Ryan Ellis to the San Jose Sharks, along with a conditional 2026 6th-round pick. It'll be the whichever is the better pick between Columbus's and Philly's.
The one that they got in the Fedotov deal.
They have 2 6th, whichever one is better. San Jose gets it. The Flyers receive Carl Grundstrom and Artem Guryev. Both probably will play in the AHL. Danny did say today, like, maybe Grundstrom is going to be one of our first call-ups.
Grundstrom's an NHL
regular. He played 56 games, I think, for the Sharks last year.
He's played the last few years in the NHL. Got some time, I believe, with the Kings as well. So he is an established NHLer. Now, not a particularly impactful established NHLer, but he's got a $1.8 million cap hit. That's what happens when you regularly play in the NHL.
That's more than double league minimum. So it's absolutely something. My main takeaway here, Charlie, is Danny Briere got more back for a guy who is guaranteed not to play than Chuck Fletcher did for Shane Gostisbehere.
It's very funny.
It just continues to blow my mind because, like, a lot of times, like, when you see a move like this, and Danny talked about it today in his press availability, like, this is one of those, we help out the Sharks, but they also, like, help us out because the Sharks needed to open up contract spots. They were at 49 total contracts. The limit is 50. Right. This gets them. They are now at 48 because it was a 2-for-1. They get the little 6th-round pick in there,
and they're already tapping in LTIR, so it's not a big deal for them.
Yes, so it opens up some cap space for the Flyers. They, if something happens, won't have to tap into LTIR at any point. That is no longer a concern. We no longer have to account for Ryan Ellis after. Did you see any of the screenshots from Saturday's game? It must be like an automated. They just like have the roster, and then on the Jumbotron, it's like everyone's stats for like who has the most minutes, block shots, and stuff. And Ryan Ellis is listed because it's just like, it's the preseason. I'm sure they're just feeding the roster into like some AI thing or whatever. But it's like, now we don't even have to worry about that. He is no longer a part of the Philadelphia Flyers. One of the more accomplished Philadelphia Flyers in a short tenure with the team. Charlie, he is 3rd all-time in Flyers history by points per game. We bring this up here. Now, it is very funny.
It's extremely funny.
Because it won. Like, Eric Lindros had an illustrious career with the team. And then it's like some Willie Huber, who doesn't sound like a real guy. And, then Ryan Ellis, who played all of 4 games. And it's a mix of like all-time great Flyers and then like Bill Armstrong, who scored 1 goal in 1 game, and that is his entire Flyers career. It's a funny list, but Ryan Ellis is there. And he's also 7th all-time in minutes per game for the Flyers. When you don't account for games played or anything. The only guys who have played, so Ellis averaged 22:48 time on ice for the Flyers.
I truly, until you put this in our outline, I did not remember. It did not register to me at all that the very first game that Ryan Ellis played for the Philadelphia Flyers, very first regular season game, he played 28
minutes.
And it went into overtime.
Yeah.
But we're talking about nearly half the game. And this is a guy who would then ultimately only play 3 more games for the Philadelphia Flyers, only played 3 more games in his NHL career. And the very first time they played him 28 minutes.
That's Ryan Ellis is 7th in minutes per game. Ahead of him, Vladimir Malikov, who played all of 6 regular season games. Then Darian Hatcher, Kim Janssen, Ivan Provorov, Chris Pronger, All-time leader in minutes per game for the Flyers, Alexei Zhitnik.
That's wild.
25-30 he averaged. Now
who they turned into Braden?
He played 31 minutes, or he played 31 games, but averaged 25.5 minutes. Very funny. This was, speaking of Chuck Fletcher, maybe we should have known because it was Nolan Patrick and it was Phil Myers, two guys. It was like, yes, get them out of here. But man, it felt like such a great trade at the time. And you look at the way it started, and he's got 4 points through 3 games. Hell yeah, the Flyers are 2-0-1. And then he misses the next 9 games. Okay. First 3 games of 2021-22, plays 28-20, 22-50, 21-18. Picks up 3 assists and a goal. Everything's looking real good.
He was looking good in those games.
And then he misses 9 games. It's like, all right. He had some stuff last year, but he started the year strong. Comes back, plays against Dallas. Doesn't play 19 minutes, which should have been a dead giveaway. But he does record another assist. And then after November 13th, 2021, we never see him again. Well, you've seen him around the practice.
I've seen him around the practice facility.
He did show up. Was it for the team picture or something the one year?
If you remember, this was probably the strangest aspect of the Ryan Ellis saga. So he disappears. You know, he plays in the
Ellis Island.
He's day to day, then he's week to week. Then they just sort of pretended that he wasn't around, even though he was getting looked at and they were trying to diagnose it. So we kind of just, the media, I'm saying, we kind of just gave up on it. It's like, oh, he's out for the year, whatever. So then we're doing exit interviews at the end of the season, and we're getting all the guys, all the players on the team, whatever. And the PR guy walks into the media room, which is adjacent to where we interview these guys for exit interview day. And he's like, so do you guys want to talk to Ryan Ellis? And I think like 3 of us nearly fell out of our chairs. We're like, Ryan Ellis? He's here?
You guys want to interview Santa Claus?
Yeah.
Wait a minute, what? He's real?
Out of nowhere. He's like, yeah, he's here and he wants to talk. So we're like, okay, let's interview Ryan Ellis. Ryan Ellis comes out there and with wild confidence wants to tell us that we figured out the problem. I feel as good as I felt, since the injury. I'm going to be good to go for training camp for next season. This is great. I'm sorry I haven't been accessible, but we were really just trying to figure out what was going on. And we're like, all right, that's extremely weird, but maybe this is just year 1 as a wash and everything will be fine the rest of the way. And then by June, when you're talking to people in the organization, it literally became like in The Godfather when Clemenza kills Paulie and it's just like, so where's Paulie? Oh, Paulie, ain't going to see him no more. It was like everyone in the organization is just telling you like, look, we can't say it, but yeah, Ellis is done. And that was a month and a half, 2 months after he showed up at the practice facility for exit interviews, swearing that he was good.
That was the thing is, you told me this story like a week ago, like when we started talking about Ryan Ellis for whatever dumb reason, because this organization's insane and crazy stuff reminds us of other crazy stuff. But I was like, when Ellis is telling you this, do they already know? And it's like, listen, the guy hasn't come to grips with his career being over, so we're going to let him go be confident because it'll make him feel better about like, do you think they knew at the time? When do you think the team knew? Do you think it was like December of 2021 and they were like, yeah, we're never going to have Ryan Ellis again? Like, when do you think they knew?
I don't think they knew. I think that they were still, I think there was doubt, to be sure. But I do believe that when he went up in front of the media at the end of the, I guess it was the end of the 2021-2022 season, they believed internally that they had figured out the issue and that they were going to be able to fix it. Whatever happened in the next month and a half, 2 months, by the lead up to the start of the active part of the offseason, it was abundantly clear that they had given up. That it was like, yeah, we're not going to get him. He's done. And not funny because I did feel bad for Ellis in the situation, but definitely a memorable part of the saga was at the start of the 2022 season when they introduce all the players for the home opener and Ryan Ellis is introduced wearing a suit and the entire arena booed him. That was wild.
It was because there was the like, because there is a doomer way to look at things. It's like Ryan Ellis is fine. He just doesn't want to play for the effing Flyers because they suck. And it's like, they do. Like, this is a poorly run organization, especially at the time.
Time it really bad. Yeah.
But like, I remember you telling me that, you're at the Flyers training facility and you look over at the other ice and Ryan Ellis is like in the bench area and someone else is teaching his kid to skate.
Yeah.
And it's like, if he could get his skates on, I think he'd be out there.
Agreed.
Like, this is a low impact situation. You're in an open skate with no one else on the ice.
Yeah.
That tells me like he couldn't tie his skates tight enough, and it's a shame because the dude was real good. And even in the 3 games before his freaking career ended, he was really good for the team.
Yeah.
He tried to come back and it was just another chapter in the, we talk all the time about the Sixers' bad luck and the curse of the Wells Fargo. Maybe it'll switch with the Xfinity Mobile Arena now. And it's like, how does this stuff continue to happen? Like, you get the guy, he's everything he's cracked up to be for 3 games.
Yeah.
And then he plays one of the next 10 and then his career's over.
He looked good. He looked good in camp, looked good in preseason, looked good in those initial games. You're like, man, they got themselves a legit number 1 defenseman. Because I remember Ryan Ellis for years. Like, I watched him from afar in Nashville and always loved his game. He was always an incredibly good player by advanced metrics, but he was also a guy, if you watched, like, he was hard not to like. He played a style that was somewhat reminiscent of Kimmo Timonen. And when they traded for him, it was like, this is awesome. This is a really good defenseman. Yeah, the contract's concerning, and that's clearly why they're willing to move him. But I've never bought the conspiracy theories that, like, Nashville knew they were trading damaged goods and that Ellis never wanted to play for the Flyers. I did hear some of that. Like, there was some truth to the part about Ellis not wanting to come to Philly initially. But that wasn't really because he hated Philly. That was because Nashville had straight up promised him, like, the guys at the top of that organization had straight up promised him, like, look, you don't have a no trade, but we won't trade you, we swear. And then they traded him and he felt extremely betrayed. But by the time the season started, by the time he showed up for camp, I think he was very much on board with the idea of, like, sticking it to Nashville and, like, let's show them that they're wrong to trade me. And then ultimately what gets diagnosed, it ended up being a torn psoas muscle.
Oh, of course.
Which was originally described as like a back injury, but in reality, what it is it's almost like the muscle that, like, drives the entirety of a guy's core. And if that's just busted, then you can't do anything.
Like, so, and that's like my theory of, forget being able to get out there and skate, bending to tie your skates.
Yeah.
Like, that's my, like, what did they call it at first? It was like a multi-layer. What was the word they used to describe?
Multi-layered sounds
multi-layered or like multifaceted. I can't remember.
Yeah.
It was basically just like nipples to knees. He's hurt. Was basically the explanation. And it's when you explain, like, oh yes, the core muscle that is legitimately everything is tied to it. Yeah, he was just hurt all over. From his shoulders to his ankles were injured.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing too about the Ellis saga, let's call it. When we talk on this show, like, for example, when we talk about the Rasmus Ristolainen situation, when we talk about, Oliver Bonk, a lot of the distrust that very clearly exists within the fan base and even within the media regarding the Flyers' willingness to openly discuss injury timelines and be honest about injuries in general, a lot of this stems from Ryan Ellis.
This is why I named it Ellis Island.
Yeah, because they did such a bad job organizationally of communicating to the fans what the heck was wrong with this guy. And that burned a lot of trust. I really think, not to say there weren't other injury situations, like Kevin Hayes' situation was weird. There were others going on. But it was the Ellis one where you get sold this guy as a potential number 1 defenseman, and initially they're saying he's only going to be out for a few days, and then you're never going to see him again ever. Even if it was driven by the medical department and the medical staff not fully understanding the injury and it just taking time, on some level you have to be more communicative and you have to be more honest with your fans. You have to. And they weren't. And that's one of the reasons why them trading him yesterday, like, it does feel a little bit like turning the page, because it, like, the handling of the Ryan Ellis injury, especially in terms of public relations with the fans, it was a black mark on the organization. It was.
I've brought up to you, I'm like, Charlie, are they ever going to be able to move this? Are they just going to buy him out one day? And you've been like, it doesn't make any sense. You just kind of got to live with it.
Yeah.
And even if it's something as stupid as when I open up Puckpedia and see it and get annoyed, even though it actually has like very little bearing on anything else, that's a PR problem. If I look at your roster, like people were taking pictures of the freaking Jumbotron the other day because Ellis's name was on it. Listen, that ultimately affects nothing. It has nothing to do with the team being any good or not, but it just annoys people and reminds you of a time when we were told one thing and the exact opposite went.
Yeah.
And I do appreciate them turning the page. And it is great. Like, you think how long it's been. Like, this is 21-22. He signed for this year and one more at 6.25.
Yeah, this isn't even the last year of the deal.
Yeah, there's another whole season of this.
And I think that's actually an important point to make because, look, by trading Ryan Ellis, it makes their cap situation for this year much rosier. They now have about $7.5 million of actual cap space.
Because they waived Grundstrom.
Because they waived Carl Grundstrom, who they got in the Ellis deal. So there's that. It definitely makes their books look cleaner for this year. But I never thought, and Briere even mentioned this today when we spoke to him at the facility, I never thought that they were going to have cap issues this season, that having Ellis was not going to be that big of a deal. They were still under the cap, even with him on the books, not even using LTIR. It was fine. But I do think this is a move that it potentially could help them a lot next season, heading into next offseason when they plan to be a much more aggressive team in terms of attacking the trade market. And if there's any free agents still available on July 1st of next year, attacking free agency, getting rid of Ellis's contract now, it just makes it easier to project what you will be able to spend next season when they actually want to spend. And that's big.
If your plan is to spend next year, you would have to put him on LTIR. Because of that, as we've discussed, the many drawbacks of putting someone on LTIR, yes, you get that space. And yes, because he's out forever, you're going to get the full space, even though they've kind of changed LTIR accounting. Doesn't really apply to the Ellis situation. But you don't accrue the cap space. It's still a contract. Like, there's reasons not to do it. And this just kind of cleans it up, makes everything a little bit easier for Danny.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was my first thought. Like, all right, as we've said, they gave Christian Dvorak $5.4 million. They clearly don't care about this year's cap number.
Yeah.
But now you have more flexibility this year. You can add if you want to, and you will be accruing cap space. Hey, man, let's say they're in it. Who's to say they don't go out and do something? Maybe they're further ahead of schedule. Maybe there's somebody with a little bit of term available because they want to leave. Who the hell knows? This is the NHL. Things change. But you also have the possibility of this offseason, really starting at the trade deadline, going into next offseason, to add to the roster and get better, spend the money you want to spend every dollar of the money you want to spend. Because there's one thing we have learned. I know people, Comcast knows the owner, they don't always love it. This has been a cap limit team since the cap was introduced.
That's true.
And they are going to spend every dollar. Getting this extra $6-7 mil, guess what? That means that's a guy. That's a whole player.
Yeah.
That's one whole player right there. $6-7 million. That's a second, third line player. That's a second pair of defensemen. Things they need.
Yeah. You want to have as much flexibility as possible when you're going into an offseason where you plan to spend. Now, as I said, whether there's going to be any players worth spending that money on, at least in free agency, I guess we'll see. Connor McDavid went off the board today. Kirill Kaprizov went off the board last week. We'll see about, guys like Jack Eichel, Kyle Connor, other guys who are being promoted as like potential game changers in free agency. But I don't think they have to only tap into the UFA world.
No.
They could make trades. They could trade for a guy who, hey, he shows he has interest in re-signing, so trade for him a year early and then lock him up. That could be the way they use the money. But they made it clear that next summer is when they start to be aggressive in trying to get guys, and this just makes it a little bit easier knowing that you don't have to account for that $6+ million cap hit, which we can put it on long-term injury reserve, but that complicates things, and then it makes it tougher to call guys up. No, you can just spend that cap. You don't have to worry about all the gymnastics you have to do if you're using LTIR.
Yeah, it seems like Danny made a good move. Are you surprised? I guess because this point, and then we'll take a break and move on because Ryan Ellis ultimately hasn't played for the team since November of 2021. But like this move, are you surprised it didn't cost the Flyers more?
Yes, a little, but I think this because you made the comparison early on in the show, and look, I get it. It's fun to make fun of the Flyers about how they gave up a 2nd-round pick to get rid of Shane Goss
and got nothing back.
And in this deal, they gave up a 6th-round pick to get rid of a guy who actually can't play hockey anymore, and got 2 guys back who aren't necessarily going to kill you.
They're guys.
Yeah, the one guy's an AHLer, and the other guy, you have to bury $650,000. That's still on your book, so it's not a positive value contract. But hey, he's an NHL caliber player. He can hold his own. The one point I'll make though about that is this shows you just how different the league-wide cap situation is today versus where it was when they traded Shane Gostisbehere.
Yes,
because Shane Gostisbehere even then was still a perfectly useful NHL player, even coming out of a year where it didn't go super well in Philly.
The coach buried him.
Coach didn't particularly care for him. Even then, he was still a good player, and you had to give up a 2nd-round pick just to get rid of him. Ryan Ellis can't play, and all you had to do was toss in a 6th-round pick and take on one not great contract to do it.
That's when I first saw the deal. I was like, oh, Carl Grundstrom. I've heard of him. He must be making like $4 or $5 million. And they're like, get this guy out of here.
Yeah.
And then I look at it and I'm like, under 2? Why did they do this? Then I saw the contract limit thing and they want to like bring in more guys. So it makes sense. It was just like, I expected this to be a much more like complicated situation for the Flyers than it was. So, good job, Danny.
Yeah, and give Briere credit as well, because I mean, basically what he did is he found someone to take on the Fedotov contract and then use that pick to get rid of Ellis. I mean, it wasn't even the pick he gave up wasn't even a pick that was necessarily their pick. It's the pick he got by convincing somebody to take Ivan Fedotov, and Columbus could have just waited until the Flyers waived him and got him for nothing. 2 good pieces of business by Danny in the lead up to the regular season. Look,
value on the margin.
I'm not saying that it means Danny Briere is the best general manager of all time, but I'd rather him be making these deals than not making them.
I'm not saying it doesn't either. All right. I don't know if that works tense-wise, but anyway, before we get to the rest of Briere's media availability, and we have a special announcement for you coming up in just a couple of minutes, we have to take our first break. Coming up this week, we have one of those great sports days. We have the Birds on Thursday night. We have the puck dropping on the Philly hockey season. And hopefully we have game 4 of some baseball playoff action. And if you're trying to watch all of that, if you're trying to have the best possible viewing experience, there's nowhere else to go than Xfinity, because Xfinity is the ultimate sports destination. If you call yourself a sports fan, you just have to have Xfinity. It's got the crystal clear sound and picture with enhanced 4K. It's so clear, feels like you're at the game. And you can get every game going at once. You can watch up to 4 games at the same time with the quad box, because if you have multi-view, you want to use multi-view. This coming Thursday might be the perfect opportunity to break it out and impress all your friends and show them how big of a fan you are. So next game day, make sure you are that big fan and not a big fail. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Restrictions apply. Multi-view requires Xfinity 4K capable TV box. And while we're here, got to tell you about our presenting sponsor, Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. From their 90 million users worldwide to their almost 800,000 live stream events each year, and being the pioneers of live in-game betting, got to tell you about one of the coolest features. It's the early payout feature. You know, in the NHL, if your team goes up 3 goals, boom, you're a winner. Well, you get the same thing for the baseball playoffs, the Major League Baseball early payout offer. If your team goes up 5 runs, if you have them on the money line or have them as a part of a parlay, all you got to do, go up 5 runs, and you are already a winner. If you're not sure about the bullpen, you can take that early payout offer and maybe come back and bet the other way. Who's to say? It's your money. You have won it. And now we have breaking news from Bet365 as well. New customers now get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5, win or lose. All you got to do, sign up, use the code PHLY365, deposit $10, and make a bet for $5 to get $200 in bonus bets, whether your initial bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in PA. If you or someone who knows a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, Chuck. So yeah, Briere's media availability today. First thing he was asked about was the trade. He just said it's one of those, we help you, you help us. Me and Mike Grier working together to solve a couple issues. And a lot of times we make fun of that in the NHL. Like, these guys are all just pals helping each other out. The only reason there's ever any offer sheets, it's like one guy's mad at another guy for taking his buddy's job or something. But this is one of those instances where it's like, we're all just trying to do a job here. There are mutually beneficial options, and this was one of them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this struck me as more of a, well, we have the opportunity to do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it, because at some point we're going to want to get rid of this guy. And even if it's not necessarily something we have to do now, hey, opportunity came across my desk to get out from under a contract that has been annoying us for a while. Let's just do it. And they did it. So props to Danny on that front.
Now, I don't know if the Sharks have officially put him on a LTIR yet, but with this move, it's very funny to me. The Flyers went from being like the team with the least cap space. It was like them and the Florida Panthers. And you're like, oh, that's kind of upsetting. Just looking at, so we're spending the same as the defending Cup champs, huh? But now the Flyers have about $7.5 million in cap room, and the freaking Sharks are at like 2.9 mil. Now, I don't know if that's the official with like LTIR calculation or anything, but it's just funny that the Sharks have no cap space.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up the cap space thing, because I feel like, and look, I don't think this is the reason why the Flyers did this deal. I would hope that these sorts of things don't matter to them at all. But the presence of Ryan Ellis was something very easy for people who are Flyers fans but hate the Flyers to make fun of them for. Because I would have so many people, you know, in my mentions and whatnot, being like making the Ryan Ellis joke. Like, if I'd be at practice one day and I'd be like, everybody who's on the roster is out there, everybody healthy. Invariably, there would be one like smart ass who would be like, well, what about Ryan Ellis? Is he out there? And like, it just became a running joke. And you mentioned about the cap space. Like, people would regularly DM me or at me and be like, the Flyers are so bad and they only have $1 million worth of cap space. Good job, Danny, you idiot. And like, it was annoying for me to have to deal with that, but I imagine it probably annoyed them too, to have to see people on social media constantly making the Ryan Ellis joke, constantly making the joke about like, well, they're a crap team. They haven't made the playoffs in how many years and they don't have any cap space. What a joke this organization is. Getting rid of him now ends that line of joke.
No, like
people can't make that joke
between
anymore.
Fedotov, like basically $10 million they got off their books in guys who like are either not NHL caliber players or not actually NHL players at all anymore. 10 million. I just looked for it on ESPN. Maybe I saw it somewhere else, but it was like an article I saw today about spending efficiency. And it's like, you know, everyone gets the same amount of cap space. And it's like, well, sort of they do, sort of they don't. Yeah, okay, I'll accept the premise, I guess. But not everyone spends it, you know, as efficiently as everyone else. And I was like, I guarantee when I click this, it's going to be about how inefficiently the Flyers are using their cap space. And it's like, yes, they have $6.25 million wrapped up in a guy who can't play.
Yeah.
Like,
that was a big part.
You know, that's a pretty big part of it. And now, like, getting rid of those two contracts in a couple of weeks changes the cap outlook for this season and just makes everything easier.
It just makes their cap.
It makes it less annoying.
It makes it look less complicated. Yes. It makes it look better, and it makes the organization look more competent, or at least not as incompetent.
That's a good way to put it. All right. So in Briere's media availability today, some of the other things that came up were Jett Luchanko's role and the defensive depth and all of that. Before we get into it, we have a very, very special announcement to make to you. The announcement, it is Operation Orange and Black. That's right. For the first time since this, what's the word for like a triumvirate but four?
I don't know. Quadumvirate?
Sure. For the first time since these four were put together, we have new head coach Rick Tocchet. We have president Keith Jones, GM Danny Briere, and CEO Dan Hilferty, all together for a roundtable discussion with our own Anthony Gargano. The full interview, the entire roundtable, is going to drop tomorrow, Tuesday at 5 p.m. But we have a little preview for you, so you can maybe know what to look for. This is going to be really, really cool. I suggest you check it out. But let's roll the clip.
Let's talk about this draft, because this draft is exciting. Martone, I mean, Nesbitt. Like, what are you seeing? You know, what are you reflecting back to it?
And the exciting part for us is on our list. We had 6 picks in the first 2 rounds after the trades. Now our scouts, when they made their list, all 6 picks were inside the first round for us, and that's exciting when you get out of this draft and you have 6 guys that you had ranked in your first round on your own personal list. It's a really good feeling. Now, you know, they still have a lot of work to do and put in, and some are a little bit more of a project, will take a little longer than others, but it's really exciting to see all the possibilities coming down the stretch for us with those 6 picks, and it's a little bit of everything. You know, we have guys that can score, guys that can make plays. We have guys that are gritty. We have guys that can skate. So it's a little mixed bag of a little bit of everything. And, you know, it starts with, Martone and Nesbitt. Those are 2 really exciting picks for us.
Jonesy, what excites you?
Everything about that draft excites me. The Martone, pick and where he landed, I'm still in shock that we were able to get him. Like, it was a great moment when we drafted Michkov, and I was waiting for the pick. The pick before I left and I went to the bathroom because I didn't want to hear his name picked before we drafted him. So before the Martone pick, I went to the bathroom, and I came back and I was looking. I'm like, he's still there. What a beautiful day. So
oh, that's awesome.
So, yeah, we're really excited about it. He grew up a Flyer fan. We interviewed him, and he was off the charts and what we were looking for in a player. So, and then to see his decision to go to college for 1 year and recognize, you know, that's a great part of the development process for him. He's such a mature kid. He could play for us right now. I mean, you don't say that very often for an 18-year-old kid. So that's something that's really exciting. And then the rest of the draft just fell into place. Like our scouts, I give them a ton of credit. They worked extremely hard, as they always do. But the placement of players and where they went was in line, like from other teams' picks. It was just so impressive. Hilf was there, Talk was there too. But just to see the way things fell into place, it was a very rewarding feeling leaving that draft.
Let's talk about this draft.
My only takeaway from this is that Jonesy is Kelly Hinkle. Kelly Hinkle famously spent the Super Bowl, the 2017 Super Bowl, in your bathroom.
That's true.
Because the Eagles scored a touchdown while she was in there, so she watched the rest of the game from in the bathroom.
It became a good luck charm. Yes. She couldn't leave.
That's tremendous.
She did leave the bathroom. She was just at key moments she would go back to the bathroom.
All right.
We needed the extra good vibes.
All right, so I want to get into Jett Luchanko making this team. Danny addressed his role today, and that is our Cherry Hill Jeep Big Deal. The big deal, of course, brought to you by the Cherry Hill Triplex. Today, it is Cherry Hill Jeep. Make sure you check them out. This is a pretty big deal, Charlie. I mean, we have been talking about the roster being set for a few days now, and we kind of hypothesized, well, they would have sent him home. If you needed more of a look at him, he would have played in that second to last preseason game, so he must have made it. And now it appears that Jett Luchanko, at least for part of the 9-game tryout, the entire 9-game tryout, he is a Philadelphia Flyer to start the year for the second season in a row.
Yeah, I thought Danny's availability today really, it didn't give the game away, but it shows you why he made this team. Because look, they know that he didn't blow the doors off. I do agree with them that he trended upwards as camp progressed, as preseason progressed. I thought he had his second to last game, I thought, was his most overall impactful. But then he gets a nice assist on a Travis Sanheim goal in the preseason finale at the Wells Fargo Center on Saturday. Yep. Was making plays. The speed was showing again. I asked Luchanko today when we talked to him if he felt like missing rookie camp played into him getting off to a little bit of a slow start at camp. And he admitted, yeah, this summer was for him more about learning how to, it was interesting the way he put it. He said it was like more about learning how to manage my body. And I think maybe he was a little rusty coming into camp because they were taking this groin issue very, very seriously to make sure that he didn't, re-injure it or re-aggravate it or whatever. But I think Danny was pretty clear. And the quote specifically was, we're keeping him in part to have control a little bit more over his development. Look, it's not just that Guelph in the OHL is not a good team, but that's certainly part of it. I don't think they would have had the same qualms if he was playing for London and he was functioning under the Hunters, who Jonesy is buddies with and they have the utmost respect for. They wanted to keep Jett as long as he wasn't actively bad in camp. They wanted to keep him at least for the beginning of the year because they want to be the ones who are teaching him stuff for as long as possible before he has to either go back to juniors or whatever. Rick Tocchet straight up said today, we all knew this, but it was nice to hear somebody straight up say it. Like, it would have been nice if we could have sent him to the minors, but can't do that. We're not allowed. One more year, we're not allowed to do that. So we decided to keep him. He might not play every game, at least to start, but we wanted to keep him. We wanted to have him under our roof. And I think that's the biggest reason why he's still here.
All right. We have over 600 people watching live right now. And that's a tremendous number. Thank you all for joining us. If you're new, if you're a regular, really appreciate it. We're at 150 likes, which is an awesome number halfway through the show. But there's over 600 people watching. These things don't add up. If you haven't already, hit the like button. It makes us very happy, and it makes you seem smarter. You're sitting here watching the show. That means you must like it. So tell us you like it. If you didn't like it, you wouldn't be watching. It's that freaking simple.
He makes a good point.
Hit the like button. Would love it. All right. And as we are talking about what Danny Briere had to say about Jett Luchanko, let's listen to what Danny Briere had to say about Luchanko's role, because Philly's #1 hockey beat reporter asked him about the role Luchanko might play.
In terms of the plan for his deployment, as long as he's here, do you expect he'll play every single game? Or are you guys going to spread it out where he might play and then sit and stretch it out?
Everything's on the table. He has to earn his spot, so there's no guarantee that he's going to play every single night. That's going to be up to talk to decide. Obviously, we're going to have some discussions, and at the end of the day, the one thing that's going to keep coming back when we discuss is what's the best plan for Jett, and that's what we're going to keep thinking about as we move forward here.
How much does the fact that his OHL team isn't very good, does that play into your decision here?
I mean, it's something we look at. I can't control what happens whenever we send him back to juniors, and then that's part of the reason to keep him here is we have control a little bit more over his development. I can't look at where he's going to go. I can't control what the team does. I mean, they can turn it around. They can make some trades to make the team good again. So I'm not worried about his junior team. This is more about at the moment when he's with us, we can control a little bit more how we develop him and how we work with him.
So it's very funny how that answer began and ended. Danny Briere basically acknowledges right away, yeah, like you just said, if it was London, maybe we wouldn't care about sending him back.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, man, basically what is a pro organization run by people we know and trust, who we would go out of our way to draft their players if it made sense? Yeah, sure. But we want our hands on him, at least for as long as the tryout or whatever, however long they plan on keeping him. And then he's going to have to, the fact that he's not guaranteed to play every night, and the fact that he keeps hammering home, we have to do what's right for his development. It is so much more, all right, yeah, maybe he's going to play fourth line minutes to start. Hopefully he would progress beyond that for the rest of the season. But the idea that this is about his development. it means they don't trust Guelph to develop him.
yeah.
Like that, plain and simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. World Juniors, maybe we send him back because Hockey Canada, they can probably teach him the right way to play
I bet
hockey.
they would send him back if he's still with the Flyers. I bet they would they would relinquish him unless he's playing second line minutes on a team that's battling for the playoffs.
No, if he's
the 3C getting 13, 14 minutes a night, they will absolutely let him play. For
that's
Team
my
Canada.
thing. If he's still in that like fourth line role, like yeah, we get you some power play 2 time, we get you some penalty kill time, but like you're low on the depth chart. Maybe you're still not dressing every night. Go ahead, go have fun.
Yeah.
I absolutely believe they would. Listen, if they're in third in the division and it's like, yeah, he's a key part of our penalty kill.
Exactly.
Probably not, but like it depends on how all that goes. But I thought his answer there and the idea that he's not guaranteed to play every night, it's not the, well, you know, he's mastered every level and now it's just a question of, well, the only way to learn to play in the NHL is playing in the NHL. It is so much more about, yeah, he's got to be practicing with Rick Tocchet.
Yeah.
Like that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, it seems like it. And I straight up asked Rick Tocchet when we talked to him about 2 hours later of what his philosophy is going to be about playing Jett Luchanko, because Danny basically said, look, that's going to be Tocchet's call. Obviously, we're going to be involved in discussions, but ultimately he's the coach. He makes the lineups. And I asked Tocchet, are you okay with not playing him every game? And Tocchet's answer was interesting, which was, for the first couple weeks, you're okay with him not playing every game.
Sure.
So don't necessarily expect him to play, you know, the first 9 games or even the first 4 games. He might play and then sit. He might sit and then play. But the other telling piece of information, this came from Danny, wasn't in that clip, but it was a Danny quote. Danny said, I wouldn't want him to play fourth line for the whole season. So they're cool with having him maybe start the season on the fourth line. Maybe he's not playing every game. But at some point prior to him playing in his 10th NHL game, they're going to evaluate whether he's better served playing every day for a crappy Guelph team or getting ice time up here. And if he's only playing on the fourth line and if he's only playing once every 3rd game, my guess is they would send him back. Now, if he blows the doors off and makes it like, yeah, I need to be in there every night, I have chemistry with Owen Tippett, I'm the 3rd line center, then they'll keep him. But if he's playing on the 4th line by game 7, by game 8, I think he'll probably go back.
All right, I have one more thing I want to hit on Jett Luchanko, then we'll talk about the rest of Danny Briere's media availability and some other things as well, but we have to take one more break. All right, it's time to tell you about Cherry Hill Jeep, because if you're looking for a Jeep or Ram truck, there's only one dealership in South Jersey who has been the market leader since 1967. As long as our hockey team has been our hockey team, that is how long Cherry Hill Jeep has been on top. Our friends at cherryhilljeep.com have you covered on the best selection, but more importantly, the best prices. Right now, you can take advantage of 0% for 60 months on 2025 Grand Cherokee L 3-row or 0% for 72 months on the 2025 Ram 1500. That's right. You can slide into a 2025 Jeep Wrangler this month for $289 a month. Every Wrangler delivers strong drivetrains, innovative engineering, and quality components that underpin this icon's legendary heritage. So stop in today and tell them PHLY sent you and receive an additional $1,000 for your trade-in. I know people buy Jeeps and Rams other places. I just don't know why. Drive home in your new Jeep or Ram truck today, just minutes from all bridges. We're available online 24/7 at cherryhilljeep.com. While we're here, why don't I tell you about our friends at Rothman? Let's talk about getting you back to what you love, especially now, the weather cooling, a little bit easier to get into some of your outdoor activities, not gruelingly hot out there. But whether you're biking with your kids or you're on, just a little leisurely stroll or playing pickup with the boys, if you're in pain, it's almost freaking impossible. From aches after that pickup game to old injuries flaring up, Rothman's team of experts is here to help. They're here to help with evidence-based care and a commitment to restoring your mobility. They'll get you back out there, and they'll get you back out there stronger than ever. So don't let pain put your fun on pause. Visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to book your appointment today and get you back to doing what you love pain-free. Rothman Orthopedics, getting you back to your fun is their mission. All right, the last thing I wanted to say about the Jett stuff is I thought it was very telling, and this isn't a criticism. I appreciate the honesty. Every question about like Jett's usage, Jett's role, how long is he going to be here, I feel like Danny prefaced every response with, well, that's what we're going to be talking about. Like, Tocchet and I assume Briere and the rest of the front office and whoever has a hand in developing the 19-year-old, they're kind of just going to be figuring this out on the fly, which I don't, again, like, this isn't a criticism. They've never done it before. Like, Danny Briere's never been a GM before, especially, like, and never a GM in this spot. Rick Tocchet, I don't know how many, like, he's had some veteran teams. He's had some young teams in Phoenix, but, like, their GM, like, just up and quit one day, didn't he? Like, like, that was a dysfunctional organization. This is a bunch of guys who are kind of like, we know the situation with this player. We don't love him in Guelph. We can't send him to the AHL. So this is going to be a day-to-day monitoring and discussing situation. Honestly, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
No, we don't have a beginning, middle, and end plan. We're going to figure it out as we go. I don't think that's the worst thing in the world, but I do appreciate the honesty.
Yeah, he was very forthright about that, to be sure. And really, a lot of this at its core, we can talk about, well, what's Tocchet going to do? What are the Flyers going to do? In the end, the person who's going to most decide what happens is Jett. If Jett Luchanko even if he doesn't play in game 1, he's going to play. It's not like they put him on this team just to sit for 3 weeks and then they're going to be like, oh, sorry, bye, Jett, you didn't play in a single game. He will get games. And when he gets games, if he plays well in those games, if he shows an ability to impact the game, if he gets an assist, if he gets 2 assists, if he scores his first goal, he will move up the lineup. He will convince Rick Tocchet that he deserves more minutes. And if that happens, it becomes much easier for them to keep him. Whereas if he struggles, if he has a couple bad turnovers and then gets benched for the third period, then here's a good chance he's probably going to get sent back eventually, unless he impresses enough at some point when he gets in another game to change that perception. But a lot of this is just going to come down to how well he plays. If he keeps trending upwards, if he uses those last couple preseason games when he was obviously better than he was in the first couple as a springboard to even higher heights, then maybe he does spend the whole year on the team and ultimately is getting second, third line minutes by December, January. If he doesn't, he'll probably get sent back, and they're just going to have to wait and see. But a lot of this is going to be dependent upon how he does.
I want to circle back to Briere's comments on the defense in a second. But since we're talking about Luchanko and where he might fit in this lineup and the usage, let's get to today's lines, which we're pretty sure would be a setup for, a dress rehearsal for game 1 Thursday against the Florida Panthers. And Charlie, you'll be shocked to find out not everyone online is excited.
Yeah, people were big mad about this, which I get.
Yes.
Really what it boils down to is Nick Deslauriers. That is the sticking point. Because, look, people watched him play last year. He didn't look very impressive in most of his games. He definitely doesn't seem like a guy who, you keep guys like Luchanko and Nikita Gurbenkin. If you notice from this graphic, he's not in the top 12, I guess, if you want to call it either. I get why people are mad, because they're like, Deslauriers, why does he have to be in the lineup over guys we're actually excited to see? And it's a fair critique. I would have to guess that the opponent is probably playing a big role in this,
and
at least in Rick Tocchet's eyes.
I can understand that a little bit, especially with Jett Luchanko, 19-year-old. Listen, he hits the gym hard. We all know about the work ethic. During COVID, he built himself a gym, blah, blah, blah. Deslauriers is one thing, and Luchanko not playing is one thing. Here's the thing about the Florida Panthers. They're a big, mean, tough team. One, they're missing one of those key guys, Matt Tkachuk.
That's true. 2,
their mean players are all good. And to me, this is one of the reasons Nikita Gurbenkin made the team.
That's fair.
He's a big, tough guy. Like, he had a fight last year when he was with the Leafs. We've seen him use his strength, get to the net, battle in corners. Like, this is what you want Gurbenkin here for. I get it. We have one of the premier enforcers in hockey, and if you're not going to use him against the toughest team in the league, who the hell are you going to use him against? Which gets to the point of, well, maybe no one. But I just, like, the Luchanko thing is one to me. All right. The idea that he could not play 2 of the first 3 because the home opener also against this big, mean Panthers team. But, like, isn't this why one of the reasons Grebenkin is here is because of this diversity and his ability to play a tough game?
It's a reasonable point. I would certainly have.
I know I'm arguing with you, and you agree.
I would certainly have Grebenkin in this lineup. One theory that I think it was Kevin Kurz who proposed this in the media room, and honestly, there might be something to it. Maybe maybe it's not as simple as Delorier's in because it's Florida. That's probably part of it. And, it just makes a guy like Rick Tocchet feel better to have a heavyweight in his lineup when you're going to go against the big tough team that basically spent the entire weekend like fighting an extended brawl with the Tampa Bay Lightning. It probably does just make him feel better.
They did just have a 312-minute preseason game.
Yeah. So
there might be something to it.
That's probably part of it. The other thing, though, and this might be part of the reason, there's an element of your vets get the first game. That it's a sign of respect to not bench Delorier for game one because he's earned the right. And this is, fans may scoff at this, but this is a real thing in hockey locker rooms that like Delorier, by having the career that he's had, by playing as many games as he had, by doing the thankless things that his role entails, that he's earned the right to be in the lineup for game one. And then after game one, the kids can play, but Nick's got to be in the lineup for game one. That might be part of it.
It's two players that many of us, at least, some people aren't a huge fan, but maybe not in the exact same situation. But when Couturier lines up for the home opener at fourth line left wing, it's not just that he's at fourth line left wing on some random December Tuesday in Newark. It's the home opener.
Yeah.
That is a purposefully disrespectful thing to do.
Yeah. It was intended to be disrespectful.
Yes, like you didn't do that because you think he's one of the three worst forwards in the lineup. You did that because you don't like him.
Yeah.
It was purposeful.
Absolutely.
After the experience of last season, and really the last two seasons under Tocchet, where things started to go south as soon as they benched Couturier. Again, we think much higher, at least most of us, think much higher of Sean Couturier than we do the abilities of Nick Delorier.
Yeah, that's fair.
But these are respected veterans either way. Regardless of how good you think they are or how many points they're going to score or ultimately what their role should be, the respected veterans get in these spots. I don't have to agree with it to understand it.
Yeah.
It's one game. Ultimately, they'll play 81 more after Thursday.
Yeah. It's just, you're trying to figure out why they do things.
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't have an impact at all, but it is something that people in the game are going to take into account because that's just important to people in the game. They don't want to, they may be hesitant to what they believe would be a snub at Delorier if he's not in the lineup for game one, even if they know in the back of their heads that like, yeah, he's probably only going to be playing like 30, 35 games this whole season.
Also, just in terms of the Luchanko part of this, because again, I said like, yeah, I think, okay, if we're making lineup specific, like matchup specific lineups here, probably want Grebenkin in it because he's one of the few big guys we have. Luchanko specifically. If the whole thing here is, yeah, man, after he plays the 9 games and we have to make the decision, but really this is about his development and keeping him in the NHL and us bringing him along instead of Guelph. If he plays every other game and he's here for 18 instead of 9, that may fit their plan better.
And I asked Danny that, are you guys trying to stretch this out by not playing him in every game? And he didn't really answer it, but maybe that plays into it a degree. The other thing, though, is you want the guy to play. Look, maybe sitting out a game here and there isn't going to hurt him. He can benefit from watching the game from above, but only if it's a game here and there. If he's watching a week's worth of game from the press box, then I don't see the point. Then I don't see any possible benefit. Another reason why I think fans were annoyed by this, and this is, again, something I totally get. Look, fans want to see fun things, okay? There are 2 fun rookies that made this team, Jett Luchanko and Nikita Grebenkin. Right now, it looks like neither of them are going to be in the lineup. It was fun in preseason to watch Trevor Zegras and Matvei Michkov on a line together. Now you look at these lines, Matvei Michkov with Sean Couturier, Trevor Zegras is with Travis Konechny. It's like, it feels, I bet, to a lot of fans like you presented us with these fun things and then you pulled the rug out from under us when game 1's about to start. You're like, oh yeah, you can have these fun things. No, you can't. Never mind.
While I understand that feeling, I am I am willing to find a bit of optimism in this top line here listed with Coots centering Michkov and Dvorak. Perhaps, because I was like, what sense does that make to have Dvorak and Couturier together? Like, Coots is like a 55, 60% face-off guy. We know he does all the dirty work. Why not have the two fun wingers with him? Konechny worked with those two last year. We want to see zegras, whatever, like centering Mish, whatever the combinations are. And then I'm thinking about it for a second, and I go, what if Rick Tocchet's just like, kid, you ain't playing any defense. Go do what you did last year and then some. You're going to stand at the far blue line. Maybe they have these two together, and it is going to be a straight up grind line until they can find a way to find Michkov in the neutral zone. I don't know.
I don't think you're right. You're quite right with that.
I would be surprised if I was right.
But I think there's something to it based on what Rick Tocchet said to us today when we interviewed him. He expressed some concern about the team's defensive consistency in preseason, about the amount of odd man rushes they were giving up. And I do believe that maybe this lineup, particularly, putting Michkov with Couturier and Dvorak, removing him from Zegras' wing, giving Zegras, who also is very much, trying to prove that he can stick down the middle to a new coach. And I think Tocchet was a little iffy on some of the things he saw from Zegras defensively in preseason, giving him two veterans, not having two rookies in the lineup. This lineup does strike me a little bit as something maybe of a reaction on Tocchet's part to what he saw as a team-wide sloppiness in terms of defense.
All right. And listen, they weren't good defensively in the preseason. The guys on defense or the team defense as a whole. I want to talk about the defensive group for just a second because Danny addressed that. And, man, asked him about it. He's like, it was hit or miss.
It wasn't great.
Jennings stepped up.
And he straight up said that we didn't even think Jennings had a chance when camp started, which lines up with my pre-camp view of I thought he was organizational. I thought he was basically done. And everyone else flopped, and he played pretty well, so he's still here.
When he has to throw in, Noah Juleson, started slow, but then started to pick it up. When Noah Juleson is part of your positives from preseason, and everyone's like, yeah, he was not good, that kind of shows you what this defense did overall. My biggest takeaway here, though, like he said, York and Drysdale look better than they did last year, and I agree. Cam York banged up.
Yeah. Seems like
day-to-day.
Well,
Ellis Island.
He's officially getting the day-to-day tag, but Danny basically said we're still trying to figure out if it's day-to-day. Is it he'll be out a week? Is it he'll be out 2 weeks? So they're clearly still trying to figure that out. We're going to see what the roster looks like when they announce it. My understanding, though, is that if he starts the year on IR, he can't play in game one because you have to sit on IR for, I believe, 7 days. You can't play for 7 days once you're put on IR. And I would assume that clock begins day one of the season,
which would be tomorrow.
Which is tomorrow. So I would assume that would knock him out at least for the first game, if not both games of the road trip. So we'll wait and see. But yeah, I'm not going to go back into Ellis world and act like we're never going to see Cam York. But it's a disappointment that he might not be good to go for game one because I thought he had a really good camp.
With or without York, my question is, looking at the forward group, I'm like, a lot of potential there. Looking at the goalies, we know what the goalies are. Kind of crossing our fingers that they can both show more than they have to this point. This defense, and listen, we can put Yenning in there. We can put Juleson in there. We can put whoever we want. I said Yenning earlier because Briere did, but we're still going with Yenning.
Going with Yenning.
Does this look like a playoff defense to you?
It doesn't. No, it doesn't. And somebody made this point in our Discord, and it's fair because people were understandably looking at what the defense for game one might look like if Cam York's on it and being like, oh my God, this is a McKenna level defense. And honestly, fair. But the point that someone in our Discord made, which is also correct, is most teams' defense would look bad if you remove 2 top 4 defensemen from the projected defense, which functionally you could be doing. Ristolainen, top 4 defenseman on this team.
Good point.
And Cam York, definitely a top 4 defenseman. He's a top pair defenseman. Any defense would look bad if you remove 2 out of the 4 best guys.
I'll tell you, I know we've spent time talking about Risto. I forgot.
You forgot about Risto.
Yep. All right, let's hit overtime and then answer a couple super chats. 321 likes. Hell of a job, gang. Way to go. Let's get another 118 before I get home, because I want to get home and see see that 420 number. All right, from JH. JH says, yeah, sorry, this was a tough day for our pal JH.
Oh, yeah, JH.
My disappointment is immeasurable. My day is ruined. Biz saying today that the Flyers would have backed up a truck for Kaprizov, and even more with bonuses was a huge kick in the balls. Yeah, that was a tough one. McDavid signs for, it's only a 2-year extension at $12.5 million a season, which tells me he just told the Edmonton Oilers,
on the clock.
You have 3 years, or I'm going and getting my 20% somewhere.
Yeah.
So
maybe even 2 years.
Yeah,
because then it would be like, okay, well, I'm not going to
trade me.
I'm not going to resign with you. So
And
your call if you want me for the third year.
You know, that third year at $12.5 million, literally any team would be able to afford that at that point. So maybe that was part of the.
In all honesty, look, JH, I respect your bit. It was very funny. However, and this is something we also talked about in our Discord today, I almost think that this actually increases the possibility of the Flyers eventually getting McDavid. Yeah. Because look, the bit was funny, JH. There was negative percentage point chance that Connor McDavid, whose main focus is winning a cup to have that on his resume so he doesn't have that missing thing, was going to choose the Philadelphia Flyers to try to chase down a cup with. Now, in 2 seasons, hey, Flyers could be in a lot better place in 2 seasons.
What if they were able to have hypnotized him or somehow incepted him on that plane from 4 Nations back home?
Yeah, just get Leo and and the whole gang
like
from Inception.
And like it's like July 1st, 2026. Like all of a sudden he's hypnotized. He's like, must sign Flyers. Like Manchurian Candidate.
Isn't that like the way he normally talks though?
Yes, exactly. You wouldn't be able to tell if it actually works. It's like, all right. But JH, I felt for you. I shouted you out on Philadelphia today. Must have been a rough day for you, but keep on keeping on.
I just think
we're getting Jack. Time to turn our attention to Jack Eichel.
Time. I just think that the 2-year term actually fits the Flyers timeline better than him becoming a free agent this summer.
It does increase the chances from 0 to whatever.
Yeah, now it's single digits, but it's not 0 anymore.
If the whole thing was winning a cup, it's like
he was never going to come.
It wasn't here.
It wasn't here.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
In 2 years,
all right.
When Michkov is a 100-point guy and Porter Martone won the Calder and Trevor Zegras is back to looking like Trevor Zegras, maybe suddenly in 2 years, maybe Connor McDavid's like, yeah, I can win a cup there.
But we'll have gold medalist and Stanley Cup champion Jack Eichel by then. He'll have missed his chance.
Fair.
Team USA winning the gold this year. That's my thing.
Okay.
It fits with all my predictions. Like all the preseason predictions we made, they only really work if Team USA wins the gold.
Okay.
All right. From Gary B. Charlie's like, I've had a long day.
You can explain your crazy line of thinking. I'm cool with it.
Gary B says, on my way to the Phillies game, just wanted to pop in and say hello. Only 3 days left till puck drop. Go Flyers.
Gary, you got to bring the energy. We need that.
We need it.
We need that Citizens Bank bar. We need it rocking.
Red October.
We need it rocking.
Maybe it was just the broadcast. Granted, after the second inning, wasn't a whole lot to cheer about. Didn't feel quite right.
So I was watching the game. I was at a wedding. I was watching the game on my phone.
You didn't have the
So I was not able to hear the sound. I will say that talking to people who did attend the game, the crowd could have been louder. So let's bring it.
I just think nothing they've done since 2022 compares to the crowds in 2022. Those were just insane. Man. All right. From I can't see this. Brandon Colt Calora. Oh yeah, I know Brandon. Ellis gone. That's the first miracle. Second one is Charlie's lip rug coming to fruition. Maybe one day, fam. Maybe one day. And finally, Adam S. Charlie says nothing. Do the Flyers maybe use the newfound cap space to trade for a defenseman or a goalie? I would assume not immediately.
Yeah, I don't think immediately.
But
definitely not a goalie.
Not a goalie.
A defenseman. Could I see a world where they get so frustrated with how bad the third pair is that they're like, yeah, we got to get somebody? I could see that. If goalie, no.
If Risto is, I'm not saying his career's over, but if he's just on Ellis Island and it's Thanksgiving and we're like, where's Rasmus Ristolainen? Don't know, haven't seen him.
Yeah.
Like, I could see a world where they need a defenseman because we just looked at that defense. It's bad.
It's not good.
Like,
Yeah.
so
I want to be better this year.
They want to be better.
That's what's killing them.
Zamula, Yinning, and Juleson all getting minutes. Like, that's probably not a very good team.
It's pretty scary.
All right. That is all the time we have for you on PHLY Flyers today. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for hanging out. If you haven't already, hit that follow button. Follow us right here on YouTube. There's like 600 or 700 of you watching right now. I bet you're not all PHLY Sports followers. Hit the button. If you haven't hit the like button, do that as well. Follow us on all the socials. We're at PHLY_Flyers on Twitter. Follow the podcast wherever you get those. We're PHLY Flyers. That's it. I am Bill Matz. That's Charlie O'Connor. Thank you to Brenna for producing. Go Phils.
Go Phils.
We all silly like the mayor.